taking it a little step further with your colouring and showing you different ways to use your sparkle pens, I've just printed out, or haven't, I've stamped out 4 of these flowers, and I've actually heat embossed these in black embossing powder. I don't know if you can see that there. Okay, I just want to show you how you can get different images and you can find the way that you like to colour. So straight off, this is our dry on dry technique. So this is actually taking a dry piece of paper or card and your dry pen. So just by taking your image or your pen to your paper, so as I said, I've done this in black embossing powder. Okay, so very similar to how we're doing the color, we did the colouring in video if you watched that, but just to show you, you can go dry on dry. So I've added a bit of the darker colour there, and then I can just go back in with my paler colour and blend that in. Okay, so that is your dry on dry. I won't go ahead and colour the whole flower, but I'm wanting to give you a way of how it looks. So that is your dry on dry. Now I'm going to do your dry on dry and add wet. Okay, so I'm just going to put a little bit of this purple here, not very much because we're going to add wet, and then I'm going to add my pink in here. So this is dry on dry and add wet. Okay. And then I'm going to go in with one of my paint brushes. I'm going in with the round end one. So a little bit of water, and then if you get a piece of kitchen paper and just blot so it's not too wet, and then this is where you can drag the colour through so it gets paler on the outside. So this is your dry on dry and then add wets. Okay, so you can just colour that through, so you get more of a watercolour look, but we've got that nice blending in with the colours. Okay, so again I'm just going to do the one petal to show you. I've moved this down here, we've got our wet on dry. Okay, so this is now where we're going to add wet onto dry. So I'm going to use my glass mat to add some of the colour. Get my brush, take some of the water off, pick up the colour, and now start to watercolour with it. This gives you more of a watercolour look. Okay, it's very therapeutic, very relaxing. I love this way of colouring in. I think it's beautiful. If you want to go paler, just dry off your brush as I'm doing and just pick up some of the water, because you've got control of it. These are watercolour products, so you've got more control, and then you can just blend that in so you've got a softer look on the outside petal and a stronger look on the inside. If you really want to, I'm just going to literally add the tiniest of touches of the purple. You can just gradually add that as well to give you that really watercolour look. So that is your wet onto dry. Now we're going to do wet onto wet. So with this technique, make sure your brush is really clean. Get it wet and then wet the whole of the petal. When doing this, I would recommend you do one petal at a time, because you don't want the water on your cardstock to dry. So you've got that on there, then you're going to pick up your wet colour, and can you see if you just dab it on, it just travels. Can you see how it's just travelling? Because it's picking up the water that you've put on there, and because we've heat embossed this, it's not going to run anywhere else at all. Okay, and then you can just keep adding water, and because we're using good quality cardstock here, this is where it comes into its own, because it lets you add all that water without buckling or leaving fibres. And I'm just going to go in with a tiny little bit again of this purple just to bring that to life, but you can see the different effect you're going to have. So this is a really lovely watercolour effect. All these techniques are great, so when you're starting to colour in, find the one that suits you the best. You know, you might find dry on dry suits you. You've got your dry on dry and add that little bit of wet. You've got your wet on dry, which gives you that more soft watercolour look, or you've got your wet on wet. But when you think here, on each of these petals I've used the same pens, but the different techniques just show you how you get a different finish with the same pen. So again, showing you the versatility of these pens and all the different spectrums you're going to go through with the shading just with these pens. So this is just giving you an idea of the different ways to colour in. Great way to practice is to just heat emboss some large stamped images and have a play to find the one that suits you the best, because there is one out there to suit everybody, and I know which is my favourite. I like to dabble with all of them, but I know which is my favourite. Which is your favourite?